Let's take a look at ProMeasure 2.1. I enable the add-on, click on an object, click on Object Dimensions, and that lets us display an object's size based on its bounding box. This also works with several objects at once. Let me select both at the same time. Then we see the measurement for both objects. When I deselect something, the readouts disappear. But if I enable pin objects, we can keep this readout displayed permanently. Alright, I'll turn that off. Next up, we have object bounds. This lets you display the overall size of your selection. So if I select two objects here, for example, we now see the bounding box around both of these objects at once. Of course, this works with any number of objects. Let me select these 4 here, and then we see the bounding box around all 4. And here too, if I click Pin Objects, this bounding box stays in place. Alright, let's move straight on to the next one. Here we have Object Distance. When I enable it, it shows me the distance between these two objects. This also works with more than 2 objects. Let me add a third one. And if I click Pin Objects here, we can then also move the objects afterwards, and the values update automatically. Next, we have Area Measurements. This lets us calculate the surface area of objects. I'll click on an object and press the Tab key to enter Edit mode. I'll press the 3 key for faces. If I select this face here, we see objects 1, so 1 object is selected, 1 face. That gives us a total area of 4 square meters. 1 more face, and we're at 8. This works across multiple objects as well. Let me select these 3 cubes here, for example. And when I go into edit mode and pick this face, and this one, we see objects. 3, 4 faces, 16 square meters in total. Alright, next, let's look at multi-measurements. This lets us measure entire objects. Here we have points, edges, and faces. I'll click on points here. Let me quickly go to an object first, switch to object mode, and click on points. Now I can simply click on this point on the object, then click here and here, then double click or press return. And we get the measurement, 2 meters by 2 meters. Of course, we can display more values as well. Let me expand this here. I can display the inner angles, for example, or the outer angle. I can also display the total length, but we also have that up here, right under measurements. And here too, we can hide all of this again if we want. Values in list in case we don't want it in here. And the way this works now is that it's pinned to the individual points of a 3D object. So if I press the Tab key, for example, and then press 1 for vertices and move 1, you'll see these points stay attached to the 3D model. So I can keep editing afterwards and carry on with the measurement. This works across multiple objects too. Let me make a second measurement here. I select the object, switch to points, and pick, let's say, from here to here to here. Then I can go straight over to this object and measure across to here, like so. Let's overdo it a little just to show that it works. Then I simply press the return key. Alright, now we have all of these measurements. And when I select this object and move it, you'll see every measurement adjusts immediately. Now, what's new is that I can change the color of each measurement afterwards. I just click here and pick a red tone here. I can also adjust the points afterwards by clicking the second button, Edit Measurement Points. When I click it, the measurement turns green, and you can already see that when I hover over the individual points with the mouse, we get a round circle. And then I can simply move these individual points around. And I can also add more points if I want to. If I hover over one of the lines here, we see this plus symbol. I click once and there's a new point, which I can drag right over here. And there's our new measurement. I can also move the individual points along the surfaces if I want to. If I hold down the Control key, for example, and click this point, we can snap it right to the center if we want to. But now you can see it's red in the middle. That means this point isn't locked to the surface. So if we move the face or the vertices, this point stays put instead of traveling with it, hence the red coloring. If I move it back onto the point here, it's the way it was before, and now the point is locked in place again. And as we saw earlier, when I press the return key and then move an object, all the measurements update in real time. Now, if I hide individual objects, you'll see that all the measurements are preserved. I can also hide them all at once, but let me clear everything with this one button, Reset All Measurements, to show you that the add-on now works beautifully with high-resolution meshes. I've loaded this 3D model from 3dscans.com. It has 1.2 million vertices, and it's exactly the same procedure. I select the object, click on points, and because it's so high resolution, we see these blinking dots. Depending on how many polygons your 3D model has, this process takes a bit longer or shorter, and once it's done, you can get started right away. And when you hover over the model, you'll see this yellow circle. So I'll just place a point from there to there, and let's go all the way up here over to there, then confirm with the return key, and there are my measurements. And if I go to edit, I can move these points without any trouble, just like we saw before, or add new points. And down here, just like we saw earlier, after pressing return, I can display the individual angles again. Something else that's new. When I click on the value here, we get the message copied measurement 1 to clipboard. That's every value shown here, copied straight to the clipboard. And when I switch to a text editor and press Ctrl V, all the values are pasted right in. This works with the angles as well. If I have the angles displayed, they're included too. There are a few other nice little features I've added. For example, under settings, we now have the option to set the number of decimal places under decimals. We can display up to 6 decimal places. The same works for the angle. And a new feature here is show through. That means, as I move around here, right now we always see the measurement through the 3D model. If I turn show through off, we only see the measurements that are actually visible from our camera angle. That can make things a lot less cluttered when you're taking a great many measurements on your 3D model. Then we have the option to change the color under text background. You can see this black box here. You can set an alpha channel too. It's self-explanatory. You can choose the color the box is drawn in and, of course, set the alpha, how much you can see through it. So that's text background. You can also switch it off entirely. Then it looks just like in the previous version. There are a few more options, such as what you want displayed. For example, total length here. Then you see the calculation right here. Let me switch text background back on so you can see it better. And there you see the length of this one measurement as a combined total. So not just over here, but directly in the viewport. Then you have the show length option for the individual segments. That one existed before. You can also hide the color field if you don't want it here. Or if you don't want the total length shown here, you can hide that again under values in list. Alright, I'd say that's enough about the individual features of this add-on, and you've now seen everything that's new. And I think the tool has become very, very performant. It also works with far higher resolution 3D models. I tried it with a model with 32 million vertices. That works too. The calculation process just takes correspondingly longer. You'll see these 2 dots blinking. But as soon as the calculation is done, you can get started right away. and then measuring runs very, very smoothly. Alright, I'd say you've now got a rough impression of the ProMeasure add-on.